So let's discuss first the basic documents. Let's take a look of the accounting cycle para malaman natin kung nasan tayo. So obviously, we are here on the first step, transactions. So yung transactions natin, dapat bago nating ma-record, should have the documents, our reference in recording the transaction. Okay, class? So yun ang di-discuss natin yung mga documents. So let's discuss the documents used in recording transactions. The first one is check voucher or pwede rin siyang tawaging payable voucher. So ang acronym niyan CV because of check voucher or PV because of payable voucher. By the way, yung iba as I have said, pwede rin baligtad, voucher payable. They call it voucher payable or sometimes companies are calling it as accounts payable voucher. Okay? So CV or PV is an internal document prepared by the company's accounting office to document the propriety and accuracy of the payable to supplier vendor before issuing the check. So ang ibig sabihin, itong check voucher or payable voucher, biniprepare ito ng company para ma-establish na tama yung liability, yung payable, okay, bago bayaran, okay, before issuing the check payment. So, para ma-establish na tama yung payable, it is supported by other documents. Merong hinihinging support yan. Hindi lang basta piniprepare yung payable voucher, kundi kailangan merong reference, may basis yung pag-prepare mo ng payable voucher. So, ano ang kailangan mong mag-support ng payable voucher? So, dapat merong sales invoice, merong delivery receipt from the supplier, or merong receiving report to establish the propriety of the payable. Yung mga support na kailangan, depende yan sa company, kung ano yung policy ng company. But these are just the basic and the standard. Okay? Na support na minsan hinihingi para ma-prepare ang payable voucher. And by the way, ang nagpe-prepare ng payable voucher, it is an internal document. Nasa within the company lang. So it is the accounting, okay? So accounting prepares the payable voucher. So CVPV is processed and approved before it is recorded in the books of accounts. Anong ibig sabihin? May processing yan. So merong gumawa, merong nag-review, may nag-approve. Okay? Para malaman, para ma-establish na tama talaga yung mga information doon sa payable voucher. Okay. And let's have a sample of payable voucher. This is a very simple payable voucher. Nandito yung name of the company, then the name of the form, which is check voucher, kung sino yung babayaran, anong address, meron ditong number, may date, and ano yung transaction na babayaran. Okay, in this case, it's a repair of car, the amount, and this is yung process. Sino nag-prepare, sino nag-approve, okay, and the account to be charged. Okay, so ito yung mga simpleng information na nakalagay sa check voucher or payable voucher. Okay, so let's move on. The next document is check. So obviously, alam niyo na siguro kung ano yung check. So yung check is prepared and issued based on the duly approved check voucher. So bago ka makapag-issue ng check, dapat may check voucher, payable voucher. Dahil yung payable voucher in-establish, may utang kang babayaran. In-establish yung propriety of the payable. So kung okay na, okay, supported na, may mga supporting documents, now you can issue a check. Check is a good internal control in making payments rather than cash payments. It is a best practice to use check for all payments. So sa mga companies, bihirang-bihira, okay, na nagbabayad sila ng cash. So normally, they are making payments in the form of check dahil it's a good internal control. Kasi kailangan mo nang ma-review kung tama yung babayaran. Okay? Check is reviewed and signed before releasing to payee. in most cases, companies implementing two signatories on the check as an internal control. So kung mga big companies, okay, specifically on partnership and corporation, ang issuance ng check, kailangan may two signatories, internal control, para hindi lang isang tao ang nakakapag-issue ng check. Para yung in-issue check ay mag-check ng dalawang tao. Okay? Two signatories ang normally na kailangan. That's the minimum. Okay? Next. Oh, by the way, this is the sample of check. Okay, pay to the order, sino yung babayaran, the amount in words, okay, and the duplicate copy. Okay, class? And of course, you have to have the company's name. And next document is sales invoice. Sales invoice is issued by the seller. Okay? Ang nag-i-issue, yung seller, yung kung sino yung nagbenta, or the seller can be the supplier, vendor, to document and record the sales transactions. Okay? Because the sales invoice is a document between the seller and the buyer, so yung buyer bibigyan ng kopya ng sales invoice. Normally, ang binibigay sa buyer is yung original. The buyer's copy of the sales invoice supports the check voucher and payable voucher to be prepared by the buyer in recording the purchases on account. So, yung sales invoice, as we have discussed sa CVPB, no? So, binibigyan ng kopya ang buyer. So, yung buyer naman, ina-attach ito sa check voucher na gagawin niya para ma-establish yung obligation niya sa seller. Sales invoice can be for cash sales or sales on account. So, depende sa policy ng company, itong sales invoice can be used for both cash sales or sales on account. But in most cases, companies prefer to separate sales invoice for cash sales and sales invoice for sales on account. Okay? And normally, yung sales invoice is for sales on account. Okay? Yun ang pinaka-normal. Yung sales invoice kasi, siyempre, mahirap na, it's an internal control na lahat ng may hawak ng sales invoice nakakahawak ng cash. So, normally, sales invoice is for your sales on account. So, this is a sample of sales invoice wherein you have the name of the company, the word sales invoice, the date, okay, ano yung number, kanino yung sales, saan ship, and the details of the sales, yung mga amount and the mga items. Okay? And the next document is official receipt, or pwede rin tawaging cash receipt. So, it can be, the acronym can be OR, okay, official receipt. Okay? And official receipt is issued to acknowledge the receipt of cash from customers or from other parties. So, basta ang company naka-receive ng cash to document the receipt of cash, then the company is issuing official receipt. Official receipt may have different format for each company, iba-ibang format. Sa Philippines, kailangan yung official receipt registered sa BIR. Okay? Official receipt is also used by some companies to document cash sales. So, ang mga companies, yung official receipt, ginagamit yon in case of cash sales. Okay? So, wala silang cash sales invoice, but instead, they are using the official receipt for cash sales because there is a receipt on cash. Okay? So, sample natin ng official receipt is ito. Ito yung name ng company, and then official receipt, kung date, and of course, it has to be numbered. Importante yan. And kung then receive from, and yung address, amount, okay, para saan yung payment na yan. Then, it has to be signed by the person receiving the payment. Normally, itong portion na ito ang binibigay sa nagbayad, okay? From the person that made the payment. At ito normally yung mga information about that. But normally, this part is not being used anymore kasi medyo matatagalan i-accomplish to. So, merong simplified format or process. And this is the BIR registration. Okay, class? Let's move on. So, we have discussed the 4 documents that are used in recording transactions. Ano yon? Check voucher or payable voucher. Okay, first. Second is check. Third is sales invoice. And fourth is the official receipt. Now, we are going to discuss other documents that provide support to transactions. Ito ay mga dokumento naman na provides ng support sa mga transactions. First, purchase requisition. Ano ba yung purchase requisition? Or the acronym is PR. Purchase requisition is an internal document prepared by offices to request the needed items to be purchased. Okay? Ito yung ginagamit ng mga nagre-request ng mga item kung ano yung mga kailangang item. So, this is an internal document. So, PR is transmitted to purchasing officer. So, dinadala yon or binibigay yon sa purchasing officer kung sino yung assigned na mag-purchase o purchasing department. And ito yung sample ng purchase requisition. Okay? Nandito kung sino nag-request, kung sino, if they have a suggested vendor, and these are the items being requested. Okay. Next is purchase order. Ano ba yung purchase order? So, yung requisition is only internal. Okay? So, ito yung mga items na nire-request ng mga offices. In particular, ng warehouseman. Kung ano na, if they are engaged in merchandising business, ano na yung mga wala sa warehouse. Okay? And now, after receiving the purchase requisition, then PO is prepared by purchasing officer based on purchase requisition. So, kung yung mga purchase requisition normally is iba't iba ang mga items na nandoon, pwedeng i-source yon sa iba't ibang supplier. So, PO is prepared for each supplier. Okay? So, kung ang items 1, 5, 8, 10 ay sa isang supplier, then gagawa ka ng PO for that supplier. Then, yung items 2, 3, 4, 9 is for another supplier. Then, gagawa ka ng PO for another supplier. So, inasmuch as PO commits the fund of the company, siyempre basta nag-order na yung company, kinukommit niya na yung fund ng company. So, in this case, the purchase order as a standard practice requires certification from accounting to ensure that fund is available for the purchase. Okay? So, minsan, in most cases, is yung purchase order bago bigay sa supplier, okay, para mag-order, dinadaan muna sa accounting ito to ensure na merong pera ang company. Okay? And then, basta okay na sa accounting, pwede nang ibigay ng purchasing officer ang PO sa supplier. Ito ang sample ng PO. Purchase order, the name of the company, sino yung supplier, saan si-ship, and these are the details of or the terms of the order at details ng mga items to be ordered. Okay, class? Next document that we are going to discuss is delivery receipt. Ano ba yung delivery receipt? Delivery receipt or DR, the acronym, is prepared by supplier to document the items that are delivered based on the sales invoice. So yung delivery receipt, ito yung dokumento na deliveries ng supplier. Okay? Copy of the DR is given to the buyer. The buyer used the DR to support the check voucher and payable voucher. Okay? And then the other document that we're going to discuss that supports the transactions is receiving report. So, receiving report is prepared by the warehouseman or by the office authorized to receive the delivered items. So kung meron ng deliveries, okay, from the supplier, so yung mag-buyer naman gagawa ng receiving report, okay? Items to be received are checked against the PO to ensure that such item is duly ordered. So, ang warehouse man, may kopya ng PO na in-order at doon niya ibibase kung ano yung i-receive niya. Okay? To make sure that all items that are being received are ordered. Okay? Baka meron kasing nag-deliver ng mga equipment or ng mga um, merchandise or inventory na hindi naman in order, then kung ni-receive mo, then the supplier will ask you to pay that, of course. In most cases, RR is based on DR. So, dapat parehas yun. Kung ano yung na-deliver, yun din ang na-receive ng warehouse man. However, may mga administrative errors. So, if there are discrepancies, it should be noted in the DR and on the receiving report. Okay? Receiving report, kung ano lang ang na-receive, okay, yun lang ang nakalagay sa receiving report. Kung may mga na-deliver na hindi dapat i-receive, then it has to be noted in the RR.